Welcome to Sideline Speedway. Here I am, Mekhi Winfrey, your host as always, joined by Parker Merrey. Nothing new on the show quite yet, but spoiler alert, we have a new person coming on the show as a guest, maybe a couple people, if you will, in a game. In a couple of weeks. I thought I'd throw that out there. Throwing Parker Merrey on the spot too. He had no idea I was even going to say
I
that.
didn't know that. That's new to
So
me.
everybody, it's news for everybody. But that is just a little spoiler for the future.
We're not, oh, you're not going to name drop the
Oh,
guests?
no. Why would I? I'm gonna keep it a surprise. I think it's best. You know what they say? The best secrets are the ones that are kept silent.
Am I going to know before the show?
No, no. Yeah, you're gonna know. You're gonna know. He's gonna know. I can't leave Parker Mary in the
Exactly.
dark, guys.
What? The
I
viewers
already.
probably think I'm playing this up for the camera.
No,
I
he
did
he
not know
has
this.
no idea.
I
I
genuinely did not know this.
genuinely know he has no idea. I just threw it right out there, right on the spot for him. He had no
We've
idea
talked about
whatsoever.
it, but there hasn't been anything like official yet.
Yep. No, it's
So,
it's only a couple weeks away. It
what?
might be this show, it might be the motorsports show. So if you listen to this, you might want to go tune into that. Just saying, gotta keep everyone on their toes. But it's coming in the next couple of weeks, so I thought we should take that opportunity. It could even be next week. So anyway, why don't we get into football, right? It was week 14, the NFL and conference championship weekend. So a lot to talk about. But before we get to any of that, I gotta ask you real quick. Did you have a good first kind of like week of December here? I mean, it's Christmas season now, so.
Look, I've had a great week. You know what I mean? Everything's going great. Oklahoma State has a fantastic new head coach, an offensive genius, the next coming of Sean McVay, one might say. And then the Seattle Seahawks are destroying Sean McVay next Thursday. So I'm super excited for that. For them to kind of actually, it's crazy. There is a scenario where the Seahawks lock up the division next Thursday. If the Rams lose to the Lions and the Seahawks beat the Colts, it comes down to Thursday night. If the Seahawks win that game, they win the division. So big high stake games coming up that I'm super excited for.
A lot on the line if you are a fan, I guess, of the Seahawks. Not a lot on the line for the Giants. It's the first overall pick if we can take hard enough.
So,
We can't. So anyway, why don't we get into actually what's happened here? Um, let's look at week 14. There's, I think, did every team play this week? Was there 16 games?
no. There was 49ers were on a bye, Panthers were on a bye, Patriots, I believe. There was a
Oh,
few teams that
Patriots
were
and
on a bye.
Giants. Yeah, we had four teams on by.
Patriots and
Yes,
Giants, yeah.
yes,
There's
thank
a
you.
few teams for
I didn't
sure.
remember. Blanked out.
This is the last week of buys, so everyone will have played equal games after this. So we're going to get a little bit of a better idea of what it comes to when we look at the playoffs. Besides Packers and Cowboys, since they have a tie, that makes it a little weird. But everyone else is going to have equal games.
Also, fantasy just started their playoffs for me, so that's why I was a little thrown in the loop. So
Yikes!
yeah, so
Good luck
why
with
don't
that.
why don't we look at week 14 here and see what they brought us? So the Detroit Lions took down the Cowboys at home, 44-30. Jahmyr Gibbs had a legacy game. We'll get to that in a bit. The Titans took on the Browns. They actually took down the Browns. They won 31-29. They get their second win of the season. Um, Seahawks, they beat the Falcons 37-9. The Colts, they fell to the Jaguars 36-19. I mean, there's a lot to cover from that game. We'll get to there. Vikings shut out the Commanders 31-0. Bills took care of the Bengals 39-34. Saints took care of the Bucks 24-20. It's a big game for the Bucks to lose. Steelers were able to win on the road in Baltimore 27-22. Dolphins beat the Jets 34-10. Broncos won against the Raiders 24-17. Rams took care of the Cardinals 45-17. Bears just fell to the Packers in a late game. Failed heroics 28-21. Packers beat the Bears. Texans beat the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football 20-10. And I know Chris Collinsworth is very sad. And the Chargers win on Monday Night Football against the Eagles 22-19. There's a hilarious play that I can't wait to get to, but we'll get to that all after we do a little bit of. Is it time? Do you hear it clapping? Do you hear the movement? I hear the
Do I
swinging.
hear it clapping?
I hear
I hear it swinging. I don't know about
I hear
clapping.
this. All right, you know what I mean. All right, that's gonna get taken out of context. The swinging motion, and then just a little bit of BTA.
Yes. Look, it's very rare that a team can go from being on the receiving end to the giving end. You know what I mean? You kind of reverse roles. The Minnesota Vikings are a switch to put it to put it in
Okay,
in
okay.
one way or another. I'm not
They
quite sure you
they
want me
they
to put that.
swap spots. I got it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so last week, the Minnesota Vikings had an absolute BTA put onto them by the most dominant team in the NFL. Or sorry, that was 2 weeks ago for the Vikings. Or no, it was last week.
What's it? I don't even remember. I'm not gonna
It
lie.
was last week against the Seahawks, and now the Vikings turn around. They're going against the Washington Commanders with Jaden Daniels, and everyone's like, okay, the Vikings are done. They're cooked.
There was no
JJ
Jade.
McCarthy's
There was
coming
no
back.
Daniels.
Is he really that much of an upgrade from Max Brosmer? Apparently he is. Number 9, coming back, redeeming himself, and putting up not a great game, but he went out and they put the BTA to the Washington Commanders. Some slightly questionable, slightly borderline illegal hits as well. We saw a nasty hit to Zach Ertz. Praying for him. That's a bad injury that
I think
can
he's out.
get.
He's out for the
For
year.
at his
So
age, that's a career-ending type injury. So you hate to see stuff like that. But it was an absolute domination. Commanders fans, I don't really know what to say to you guys except for turn around, bend over, and take the BTA.
I gotta correct you. Jaden Daniels was not playing in that game.
Yeah, he was.
Was he really? I did not see
Yeah,
Jaden Daniels when I.
so he started the game for them.
Okay. That's whatever.
Yeah,
He gets
he
the
was
belt.
taken out by the end, but
He
he
get
did start for
he
them.
they thought better of their previous mistake.
Yeah, I just
Okay,
he should just be out for the rest of the year. I don't
just
see
leave
why
him
they
out.
would even play him.
They're not making him though. All right. Well, you know what? That's look. That's like a team with a barely passing grade giving a team that's failing a failing mark. Like that's like child's play that game, right? You know it's not is a change in the tides when it comes to the AFC South because you know who else gets the BTA this week is the Indianapolis Colts. Indianapolis Colts fall 36 to 19 as I said to the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. Um, I don't know. The Jaguars just had them beaten. It seemed like every aspect, even before the injury that we'll get to in a moment. Um, it just seemed like the Jaguars just had their number. I mean, offensively, the Colts really weren't moving until this kind of the end of the first half. Really, it seemed like they just were stumped at least early, and then the Jaguars really never looked back. They just kept scoring every couple of possessions. There was never really a question about who was going to lose the game. The Colts, they were starting to slide even before again the injury. Obviously, they had the loss to the Chiefs, the loss to the Texans, so things were not looking good. They really need to get back into the win column this week, and the Indianapolis Colts do exactly what the Colts do past Peyton Manning, and that is somehow find their way to about a 500 record. So the Colts this week receive some BT.
I know you've been waiting to give that out. Nobody's been a bigger Colts doubter this year than you, so I feel like you've been kind of waiting to give that one out all year, just waiting for their collapse. I feel like you've been preying on their downfall.
Dude, look, I don't pray on downfalls. Look, I actually don't pray for much. I'm not a religious person, but I will say I do think somebody above had to have called Philip Rivers to given him an arm because
Bro.
as of today, as of us recording this at least, Philip Rivers officially signed the Indianapolis Colts and it will be playing quarterback for them this coming weekend. I don't actually know who their matchup is off the top of my head, but they're playing. He's playing quarterback
Yeah,
this
guess who
weekend.
they're playing this weekend? I want you to guess.
Take a guess.
Yes.
Is he? Oh wait, they're playing you guys.
Yes.
Jeez. Oh gosh.
Oh
Oh
man,
Lord.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I
That
don't care. Look, if there's any game I want to lose,
this is the one.
it's this one. You know what I mean?
Rivers
Oh
is
my
the set. I might be wrong. The stat checkers can correct me all with their nerd emojis if they want, but I believe that Philip Rivers is the second oldest quarterback now to play a game, assuming he plays, behind Tom Brady, of course. So this is monumental in multiple different ways. The fact he was able to retire for like 4 years, come back and still pass physicals and all that stuff is incredible to me. So good
yeah.
for him on that.
And
Um,
Frank Ragnow retired 4 months ago and couldn't even pass his physical.
well,
So
apparently he had a torn. I don't know how he didn't know he had a torn hamstring. Was it a
yeah,
hamstring, right?
that's pretty wild.
I'm gonna lie, that's a big. He a big dude, of course. He an offensive lineman, but like that's a strong guy. If he was able to
Yeah,
just walk
just
on that, like he
walking
was,
around with a
yeah,
grade 4
like
hamstring injury, just okay.
impressive. I gotta give that man some flowers. Anyway, my main and really only question about the Philip Rivers part of this is: do you think the Colts have? Is their season done? I mean, is this just like they're just throwing Philip Rivers out there to have a quarterback out there, or do you think they're really trying to get something going?
So I believe their season was done even before losing Daniel Jones, just because of the fact that they were losing games, the fall off was starting to happen, and people were starting to figure out how to stop the Colts, which was force them to pass the ball. You know what I mean? If they're not able to rely on their run game, the team is substantially weaker. And we've seen Daniel Jones deal with his leg injury, and now he's out. Anthony Richardson's been on IR all year. And then we see Riley Leonard also have a leg issue as well, and he's also questionable for this weekend. So I think the Colts are just like, look, if we need somebody, old guy to come in and sort of establish ourselves, an old guy who can come in and run a Shane Steichen offense. And I think Philip Rivers, I guess they chose as their perfect candidate. Um,
I'm not doubting Philip. I mean that he is a I know this might be a controversial take. I think he's a top 10 quarterback of all time.
okay,
Um, I know that is probably a controversial take. But I think he is, and I don't see a reason. I mean, like, look, he's obviously old, but he is a smart guy, obviously, so he can at least figure out the offense. I feel like.
top 10 of all time
I think
for
he's like I
not
think
just the
he's
Chargers, but for everybody.
I think the very back end of it. Yes, I'd have to sit and really discuss. What do you want to do that right now?
No,
Say
no,
we'll get to
that's
that.
that's good off-season content.
I think he's probably my back end of my top 10. Honestly, he's probably like ninth or 10th if I had to think about it. But
Wow,
whatever.
that's kind of wild.
And either way, he is the veteran, of course. He was in the league for 20 years almost, and he knows what to do. So I'm sure he can figure out this offense at least enough to not hurt it more than his age is going to. Although I do pray his body doesn't break the one time that the offensive lineman can't get a block. That would be
I don't
quite
know.
a
This is just weird to me. Like,
it spells
I think
disaster.
I think the move is good for the Colts because I think anything's better than no quarterback, and it's looking like their offense might be run through a wildcat this weekend if they don't have if Riley Leonard's out, if they didn't sign Philip Rivers. Obviously now they have signed him, so I think it's a good attempt at trying to keep your season alive. I just don't really understand the incentive from a Philip Rivers perspective. I don't really think he's going to be all that competitive. Now, the fact that the Colts did select him over like any quarterback on any of the 32 practice squads shows that maybe they know something we don't. Like maybe Philip Rivers just comes out and balls out. I
I
mean, who
guarantee they
knows?
called Andrew Luck first. I am so positive they called Andrew Luck
They
and said,
called Tom
"Hey,"
Brady
they
first.
said, "Andrew, hey, would you want to come play some football?"
I don't know.
That was probably what happened. And they were like, "All right, well, if it's not Tom, it's not Andrew. All right, Philip, hey."
They
Like,
want to call it like Big Ben or nothing.
oh, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I'd call it Philip Rivers before Big Ben compared to how their careers end. Look at how their careers ended. Philip Rivers was slinging the ball down the field. I think you forget in his last game that he played. If Big Ben was a rough
In the
watch.
playoffs.
He
Wasn't the
he was as
playoffs.
well, but it was a rough watch. Um, anyway, that Philip Rivers will start for the Colts. Real quick, obviously, I'd be remiss to not touch on the fact Daniel Jones out for the year, torn Achilles. Man, not a good year for Indiana. Just not like aside from college football, it has not been Indiana's year. We don't talk basketball on the show, but of course I need to mention Tyrese Halliburton in the NBA Finals tore his Achilles. So basically 6 months ago, Daniel Jones basically replicates it, and that's just unfortunate. I feel for the state of Indiana when it comes to their sports fans.
Yeah, it feels like they really just sold their soul for the Indiana Hoosiers.
Look, man, that team was bad for so long. So I'm not saying they should have, but I'm just saying, like, look, at least they got one team, so they got something they
They
could
do
be
have
proud of, you know. So, but of course, as much as I was a Colts doubter and I was definitely a Daniel Jones doubter, I never want to see injuries. Nobody wants to see injuries. Um, So we hope for a speedy recovery for Daniel Jones, although it looks like about a 9-month injury, which means he'll be out until just the start of next season. So unfortunate news for the Colts in that regard. But as we kind of move along here, let's just see what else do you want to talk about. I definitely want to talk about the Monday Night Football. Just one play. I don't want to talk about the whole game because I feel like the game is pretty self-explanatory if you look at the box score. But there's one thing. I want to know how Jalen Hurts managed to lose the football not once but twice in the same play. So for anyone who didn't watch, he throws an interception, right? That was bad in itself. It was a mixed read. You could say one of two. It was mostly on Jalen Hurts, right? Hurts throws the pick. Guy starts running it back. Ball gets punched out. Oh, it's flying through the air. And Jalen Hurts gets it. And we're like, oh, he's going to start running forward. He fumbles the ball. He gets it punched out. It goes another 20 yards back. Or not 20, like 10 yards back. Chargers guy picks it up. And that just killed all their momentum. What did you think?
Look, it was a pretty awful game from Jalen Hurts. And I think discussions are going to be had about how good is Jalen Hurts. He's probably been the most polarizing quarterback in terms of where you want to rank him. Some more diehard Eagles fans want to put him in their top 5. Some other people don't even want to put him in their top 10. It's kind of interesting because I've heard the argument from Eagles fans and most of the Eagles fans are in favor of Jalen Hurts, but it's interesting because it's a double-edged sword. People will say, oh, the Jalen Hurts doubters will say Jalen Hurts has a super team around him. But then Eagles fans will claim they have a super team, but then also say Jalen Hurts is top 5. You can't have both. You know what I mean? Like, you
I
can't
mean,
have, oh, Jalen Hurts is carrying the team, but we also have a super team. You can only have one. So for me, I think Jalen Hurts is more in the around 10th place range. I think he's a good quarterback, but I think when the chips are down and I don't know if he's the guy that's going to go in and elevate your team. We saw in the end of 2023 when the Eagles were struggling, he was really bad, couldn't get anything going. And now again this year, the Eagles starting to struggle, and he is playing at his worst.
the Cowboys are one game win away. Like, if the Eagles can lose, right? If the Eagles lose a game again, the Cowboys are one win away from being right in the division race. Like, I don't think people really realize how close that actually is. The Eagles are not, like, far and away ahead. But as for Jalen Hurts in particular, I've been saying the same thing, I don't know, 3 years now. His 2022 season was great. And I think that's the best season he's played. I think 2022 was his best year. 2023 was questionable, really questionable. Last year, you can say super team, you can say whatever you want to say. He was okay. He was a good quarter. He played good, right? This year, again, team kind of falls back to a couple of years ago. He's he's not a good quarterback. He's good, but he's not great. I think he is the epitome of what it's like playing in a fluctuation of two. I think he at times can play great, play as great as the top quarterbacks in the league, and then at sometimes you're going to get a guy who's maybe top 20. Like, that's just the scale he's on. So here I'm not comparing him to him, but he reminds me of Tua just on like a higher echelon. Like, as in Tua's ceiling was like top 5-ish, top 10 at times, but a lot of time he was down here. Hurts more towards the median, but still up and down the scale.
Hmm. I think Hurts is a little limited through the air. I'm not sure, like, if I had to rank quarterbacks in terms of arm talent, he
He's
would be
definitely
pretty low
towards
on
the
my
bottom.
list. I really don't. I think his running ability adds a lot to his game. But in terms of like his actual arm talent, I don't think it's anything amazing, you know. Now, and he actually has not been that bad throughout this whole season. It's just been the last few games, specifically that Monday night game, where it's just been incredibly sketchy. So he still had a good overall season, but I do have concerns about the Eagles. Do have concerns about Jalen Hurts. Don't have concerns about the Chargers though. Well, let me put it this way: I did have concerns,
They
but
silenced
Justin
them.
Herbert, the offensive line is hurt. Justin Herbert has screws and bolts in his hands, and yet they just went out and beat the defending Super Bowl champs on Monday Night Football, on Monsters Inc. Monday Night Football. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
didn't matter how many picks to Sully they threw; they ended up winning the game. So big credit to the Chargers. I think that's a massively impressive win. And it really gives them a great chance to make the playoffs because they're in a pretty tight battle with Kansas City right now. And later on in the show, I'm going to get into some calculations about how the Chiefs can make the playoffs, and a lot of it has to do with the Chargers. And so the Chargers winning on Monday Night Football is a huge positive to them and a huge blow to the Chiefs.
You know what? We're not gonna wait till later in the show. I want to hear this right now, actually. So you know
Do it
what?
right now.
Give me your calculations. Again, to rehash, the Texans beat the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football, so the night before. Chiefs fell to, I think, another losing record, 6-7. No joke intended. Uh,
Yeah.
the the Texans are now, who are also in the wild card race with them, who can now probably get into the division race. To be honest, um, it's a tight race between those three teams, the teams that we just mentioned. So, what is the situation? What needs to happen if you're Kansas City? I know you need to at least win 3 of your next 4 for sure. So, what is the situation?
Okay, so here is the most realistic way for the Kansas City Chiefs to make the playoffs. For all you Chiefs fans that want to know, the Chiefs win out, which is their remaining 4 games are against the Chargers, against the Titans, against the Broncos, against the Raiders. Titans and Raiders are easy wins. Broncos and Chargers they've already lost to this year. So if you assume they split, the Chiefs go 4-0. And then we look at the Chargers. The Chargers have to go 1-3 in their last 4 games. They don't have to lose all those games, but 1-3 is like what they have to do. So let's talk about how that can happen. The Chargers' remaining schedule is pretty tough. They play Kansas City, which is probably the biggest game here.
That's the toss up,
That's a
right?
2 game swing basically. Then they also play the Cowboys, the Texans, and the Broncos. So that's 4 tough teams, three playoff, 2 playoff teams, and then 1 potential playoff team. 4 potential playoff teams, really, if you want to include the Cowboys. So these are really tough games right here. If the Chargers lose to the Chiefs, the Broncos, and the Texans, and the Chiefs win out, Chiefs are in the playoffs.
I do want to
That
ask.
is the best case scenario.
I was going to ask you, what is the Texans situation? Because obviously they could win the division. I don't know if they currently lead it. Do they lead it right now?
No,
The
no,
Jags?
I don't think they lead it.
The Jags probably do
There,
then.
I haven't done like any calculations on how they can make it.
But what's their games? Do you know their games? Is what I'm more getting at here.
I can give you some quick assumptions through the athletic predictor. They currently have a 94% chance of making the playoffs. If they beat the Chargers and the Colts,
They're
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 in.
in. They're in. I mean, yeah, they beat 2 teams.
They just need to win two
Yeah.
games. You know what I mean? So if they lose 3 games, then their percentage goes down to about 50%. So if they lose just 2 games, they're in the playoffs. If they lose 3 games, it gets a little tight.
We'll see how that all plays out. But
But yeah, that it was a massive game on
yeah,
Sunday Night Football between the Chiefs and the Texans. I have a couple of complaints about the Chiefs, specifically their
complaints.
complaints because for a team like the Chiefs, who is a Super Bowl established team, we saw way too many mistakes on Sunday Night Football. A few that I want to mention are the drops, whether it be Travis Kelsey, whether it be Rashee Rice. You saw it, we all saw it. Ridiculous drops. Patrick Mahomes didn't have a good game, but he really was not being helped by the fact that nobody could catch a football. And then the biggest play of the game to me was the Andy Reid fourth and 1 decision to go for it in their own territory in a 10-10 tied defensive game. What are you doing? That is one of the worst coaching decisions I've ever seen.
Against one of
And
the best run defenses.
yeah, and the Texans offense did nothing in that second half. They are not scoring unless you give them a touchdown, and they gave them a touchdown. So it's ridiculous. It's just not good situational football. So the Chiefs, they deserve to lose with decisions like that. It's just uncalled for.
The Texans didn't play great. The Chiefs just played poor. It's plain and simple.
Yeah,
But
well, and I give a lot of
well,
credit to the Texans defense.
well,
Their
what,
defense.
what I mean is like the Texans didn't have some electric superstar game on either side. Honestly, they played good on the defensive side. They played okay on the offensive side. What I mean is they didn't win the game. The Chiefs lost the game. That is what happened. So, and I mean, look, in the regular season, you're gonna get games like that. And for the Texans, who had so many losses early, it is really important for them to win a game like that. So, good for the Texans. Made zero to little mistakes, if any. The Chiefs, again, just mentioned it. They are now in dangerous territory. Look, I'm not a man to count out Patrick Mahomes, but if they mathematically are out, I can't do anything to tell you guys otherwise. So,
Yeah.
uh, they need to win a game. They really, and it has to be one of these two in their division. I feel like so. We'll see how that goes. Um,
Yeah, and they don't necessarily have to win out. If the Chargers lose all four of their games and the Chiefs go 3-1, then that's another way that they get in. But that's obviously not as
harder.
likely. So you just
You want to put it in your own control.
yeah, if they win out and the Chargers lose to the Broncos and Texans, and then obviously the Chiefs as well. But with the Chiefs winning out, you're assuming that happens anyway. So Chiefs win out, Chargers lose to Broncos, Texans, and boom, the Chiefs are in.
So we'll see how that plays out. But I guess do you want to give your prediction on how that goes, or do you want to wait on that?
All right, so
All
we'll
right.
probably talk about it once more games go down. But I will say this: I do think that that scenario is actually going to take place. Those are very tough games for the Chargers. Chiefs and Chargers, massive game, and then of course the Chargers also play the Broncos and the Texans. Um, I actually think the hardest part of this is going to be, can the Chiefs beat the Broncos? That is going to be the hardest part to me because um,
Not the Raiders.
I not the Raiders. No, they're beating the Raiders. They're beating the Titans.
I
I think the
just
Chiefs
wanted
are going
to
to
give them some love.
like because that's a bad matchup. The
No, I
Broncos
know.
pass rush is insane, and look what the Texans pass rush just did to the Chiefs. That's a tough matchup. I think that's going to be the hardest thing to happen. But then I look at Chargers versus Texans and Broncos. I think those are easy games for the Chargers to lose because of how good the Texans and Broncos pass rushers are. They can really get after Herbert, get over that weak offensive line and really, wreak some havoc. So I see that scenario taking place, but I think it's going to come right down to the wire.
This also depends on how the other AFC South teams and the other AFC North teams do. So, like, if the AFC North and AFC South teams just poop their pants, I mean, this could also change certain scenarios too, because it could make it easier or harder to get into that last spot in the wild card. The Bills effectively have theirs, so we'll see how that. Well, we're assuming the Bills don't win the division from this point,
Yeah.
but
So yeah, we're not gonna get a wild card team from the North. I think it's safe to assume at this
more
point.
than likely,
I think we're only gonna get one team, the division winner. AFC South has three potential teams. You have your division winner, which I think will be Houston, could be Jacksonville, won't be the Colts. I actually don't think the Colts are gonna make it at all. So let's assume we get um, division winner from the North, division winner from the South, division
East,
winner from the
West,
West, division winner from the East. That's four teams. You add Buffalo, that's
that's
five.
five.
You add Jacksonville, that's six. And so then who gets the seventh spot?
Then it then
Is it
becomes
Indy? Is it the Chargers? Is it the Chiefs? Is it a second AFC
is
North
it?
team?
I would say, is it the Ravens who managed to snap
Yeah,
back into form?
we'll see.
We'll see. We will see. A couple other games I want to talk about from this weekend. Nothing too much more crazy though. Um, I want to actually hit on the Bengals real quick. The Bills Bengals right there because now I don't have too much to say about the game. Because I think everyone who watched, which a lot of people were watching, because that was one of the biggest games of the week. It was pretty apparent, right? Um, the Bengals just don't have the defense. Like at a point, look, dude, 34 points would win you 90% of your games. like, I think you're asking a whole lot of your offense to go score 40 to beat a team. That's a lot. And I mean, Burrow's played 3 games all year, so that's not really much of that's putting your quarterback who's not been on the field through a lot. Um, the Bengals season basically ends there. I mean, it's I think it's still possible, but it would take like heroics for them to make it. I think they're mathematically still in contention. Am I right on that?
Yeah, it actually, as crazy as it sounds, now we're gonna start to talk a little bit about the Bengals playoff scenarios. Um, they actually don't. I know it sounds crazy, but their chances of making it are not as crazy as you would think. So if
Really?
they win out, they have a 29% chance of making it.
So win
Right?
the division. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're not gonna wild card their way
They're
in.
not at this point. I think they just got eliminated from that.
Yeah. So, but let's say they win out. And then we start to see the Steelers and Ravens take the Steelers and Ravens still play each other. They could
Again,
take games off each other. Bengals still play the Ravens again. They still play the Steelers again. Um,
no, they don't play the
they don't
Steelers
play the
again.
Steelers again. That's
We
right.
we have made that
But
mistake a
there's
few times.
yeah. So like this could easily flip with a couple games if they get the Ravens and
They would need
Steelers
the
to
Ravens
split.
to beat the Steelers, though.
Yeah, they need that series to split no matter what. So that way the Steelers can kind of be knocked down. So if they start taking games off each other, the Bengals can get right back in it.
So, not entirely over if you're a Bengals fan, but that loss does not help. That would have been a very big win, especially when it comes to a statement for your team, but not to
Yeah.
be. Um, one really quickly, I don't really want to talk about this game, but I want to mention both Cam Ward, Shadur Sanders. They look great against each other's teams. While I don't necessarily think either team's very good, um, they both still looked really good, which was nice to see. I appreciate seeing good young quarterbacks have a couple of good games a year. That was fun. The Titans somehow found a way to not lose, which
Yeah.
they try every week. If you watch Titans football, I know Titans fans know it. They try to lose, they didn't this week. So good on them. Um, just wanted to give them some love, especially Shador, because I'm sure he gets enough hate by the media. I'm not a huge Shador fan, but he is playing good football, so give him the credit where it's due. The last game I really wanted to talk to you about is the Saints and the Buccaneers. And I know that sounds crazy. Like, why would you want to talk about the Saints and Buccaneers? It has nothing to do with the Saints. It has like zero to do with the Saints. Good for the Saints. They won a game. Cool. I had nothing to care about that. Baker Mayfield is playing through multiple injuries right now. I have to ask you a question. Not only are the Panthers the favorite to win the division, I'm asking, but is Baker hurting himself and the team by playing through these injuries, or is it keeping them afloat, you think?
I think you'd rather have Baker in, honestly. Who is their backup?
I think
I
it's
saw him the
Bridgewater.
other night
I think it's
against the
Bridgewater.
Rams.
Is it
Yeah,
Bridgewater?
that's right. It is
Yeah.
Bridgewater. I
And
think
he's
they
had his
stand a
fair share
better
of
chance
injuries.
with a slightly banged up Baker. I don't know the full extent of his injuries. I don't think they're bad enough to tank his play very far down. But I have major concerns about the Bucks right now. I mean, you look at what they've done over the past couple months. Maybe,
Radio
really
silent.
let's see. They beat the Saints a couple of weeks ago. Is that their only
They beat the
win since
Cardinals, I
losing
think.
to Detroit?
I
That's
think
right. They barely beat the
they escaped the
Cardinals.
Cardinals.
Yeah, so they have two wins since the loss to Detroit, which is it's kind of a tale of two seasons for the Bucks. You had the first half, which was fantastic. Baker's the MVP. They're like the one seed. They're the consensus best team, and then they lose to Detroit, and it's just like a downhill slide from there. They've only beaten the Saints and a tight one against the Cardinals. So, and then every time they play a big contender, whether it be the Bills, the Patriots, they lose the Lions, and then they lose. Now they're losing to teams like the Saints, and it's just a bad deal. I'm not sure if I'm ready to say they're going to lose the division. They still have two games against the Panthers, so a lot can happen. It's a big chance at a big swing in one way or the other. So if I had to guess, I think that they're going to win the division because they're so good at just pulling through. That's what they've done the past few years. Last year I think they were 5-7 at one point.
They
They had a
were.
really
They
bad
were.
record, and then they just won out at the end. So for me, I think the Bucks are going to get it done. I think they also have a much better roster than the Panthers, even with all the injuries. So ultimately, I think they do get it done, but it's not looking good for the future. Todd Bowles' job it's sort of in jeopardy right now. I wouldn't say in jeopardy, but he's certainly on the hot seat. There are fans calling for his head, something that we haven't seen before. So a lot of pressure right now on the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, look, we know how good Baker is when he's healthy. I think the easiest way to look at this is I remember the Browns 2021 season very vividly because they're coming off a really deep playoff run. They started the season kind of hot, actually. They looked pretty good. Everyone was kind of high on the Browns, and then Baker got hurt, didn't kind of sit out because he's a tough kind of guy. He plays through his injuries. The
Yeah.
team started to fall apart around him. This kind of just, I'm not saying this team is as bad as that Browns team, but they are the same thing. They're acting as the same thing. Um, I don't think it's a Baker issue. I think people have realized that now it's not a Baker problem, so it won't be like, oh, Baker the problem at Tampa. No, that's not going to happen. especially considering Tampa loves him. But um, yeah, I mean, they have to look at somebody, right? Like you're playing your quarter. You as the coach, it is your job to pull the player out if the player decides they're not going to take themselves out, right? That is your call. At a point, you also have to be like, hey, is Todd Bowles keeping him in selfishly, or is he keeping him in because he really thinks he can play? That has happened before. It is not an unknown thing in sports where a coach keeps a player in. I'm not inferring that, by the way. I'm not thinking Todd Bowles is doing that, but it is not unheard. So hopefully it is just minor injuries for Baker. It doesn't get any worse. Again, one bad hit can immediately change trajectories for people. I hope that's not the case. Um, but yeah, the Bucks, they look like a different team right now than they did in September and early October. So hopefully they can get back on the right track. They're a fun team when they play well. They are a fun team. They're a team I'd like to see
for
do
sure.
well. So we'll see if they can get it right back into gear. But we'll see if they can do it with a win this week. Well, speaking of this coming week, week 15 with 4 games to go, we got some more predictions to do. We're not out of the gate yet. We have a couple more before the playoffs. A couple more weeks. It's crazy. We're right on the horizon. We've been doing this show for almost 4 months.
Playoffs are
So
almost here.
so all right. Do you want to speed run this or you want to take your time? I'll let you pick.
Well, I'll speed run it, and then when I get to some games I want to touch on a little deeper, I'll go deeper.
All right. Well, speaking of the Bucks, they do play this Thursday, so it's a short week, which probably doesn't actually help Baker in this case. But Bucks are playing at home against Atlanta. I'm
Oh, I'm taking it.
I,
I'm
well,
going
I
first.
mean, I was gonna just say I think easy enough. As much as it is hard to sweep a team, the Falcons look putrid right now. I'm just gonna take the Bucks anyway.
I will take the Bucks as well on Thursday Night Football. I think they need to win to get back on track, and I think that's what they do.
The Falcons just look rough. I have a hard time believing. Like if this was a team that was like close to 500, I'd say that team would win. But the Falcons are not playing like that.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not like they're a team that you had on your power rankings at some point
it's
this year.
week
It's not like that.
six. It was like week 6. It was like 10 weeks ago.
I'm gonna use that against you no matter what. Like if they get the
It's
number
like
one pick this year, hey, you remember when you had them in your power
I
rankings
mean,
this year?
I know we're not gonna. I'm not gonna catch this straight. Off screen, this guy said he was considering it too. He had them right in that discussion. So we're not
Oh,
gonna.
I wasn't. I said I could see where you're coming from because of the talent. I
You
don't know
you
if I
were
would have had them.
you were saying you were thinking about it. Whatever. We can say what you want. Ravens and Bengals play again. This time in Cincinnati. I actually do think the Bengals are gonna sweep them. I
Ooh,
think the
interesting.
Bengals. I think the Bengals are going to sweep the Ravens, and that's going to be the fire the Ravens need. Because that is going to be like, okay, if we don't win out from here, we're not making the playoffs. And with Lamar, with this type of talent we have on our team, this would be bad. So I think the Bengals will win this week.
I see the Ravens winning, but I could see a world where Lamar gets hurt in the middle of the game and the Ravens season is just over. They lose that game and then they go on to basically lose
They
out.
just roll over him.
I
Yeah.
I could see that happening. I have a weird feeling that like Lamar is about to have a bad injury that ends his season. I know
That's a
that's
bad thing to speak in the universe.
it's a bad thing to speak into existence, but you can tell he's playing through injury. This is not like this is a recipe for disaster. So I have a bad feeling about it. I am gonna have them winning, but I am skeptical for sure.
The Ravens definitely need it as we continue to look through here. The Eagles have a get back game here against the Raiders. If the Eagles lose to the Raiders, we got big problems. We got some
Yeah, we
big,
can
big
speed run
problems.
that. They're winning for sure.
But give me Philadelphia in Philly at that. Give me Philly. Um, the Cardinals go to play the Texans in Houston. Nothing game for the Cardinals. For the Texans, if they lose this game, that definitely doesn't help with the rest of the games that they end up playing. Um, but I don't think it'll matter. I think Houston will take control of this game.
Yeah, Texans are winning.
Uh, the Chargers go to Kansas City in Arrowhead to play the Chiefs. Remember, the Chargers won the season opener against the Chiefs earlier this season. I have this going the other direction, though. I think the Chiefs in Arrowhead, and I know I've said this for the last couple of weeks, and like, oh, they're going to lose this week too. No, no. I think the Chiefs, knowing that their season is genuinely in jeopardy at this moment, like another loss kind of puts them out of it. I think they'll win this game.
Yeah, this is an absolute must-win for the Chiefs. In Arrowhead, I think they are going to get this win. If they lose, they're out of the playoffs. They have less than a 1% chance of doing it. So this is it. Like there is
There's no
no way
more.
out if they lose this game. So I think they are going to win it in Arrowhead. They need to if they want to keep their season alive.
And they have no excuses. They have no excuses. So
Yeah, unless you want to pull out the injury stuff, which I'm not
every
crazy about that
every
because that's
team,
part of sports. But
yeah,
yeah,
every team has injuries. This is a rematch as well from earlier in the season, another divisional game. The Bills head to New England to play the Patriots. And you know what? Coming off a bye, Bills played a tough game, got a good win. I think the Bills are feeling themselves and trying to make a comeback at the division. Although I don't know if they'll get there. Bills are going to take this W.
okay. I will be the first to say that I did have the Patriots winning the first matchup. One of, I think, two people in the whole world, along with me and my boy Kevin Wilds, to actually pick the Patriots to win that game. They were on the doorstep of destiny.
All right.
But look, they've already
Please.
walked into the door. You know what I mean? Destiny is already there. So even if they lose this game, it's not going to kill them. I think they are going to lose. It's a tough series to sweep. So I think they're going to split it and the Bills win this one.
Especially the Bills, who are, I think that win will basically lock their playoffs if they're not already.
Yeah.
So then they'll just be playing for the division. Um, Jets play the Jaguars in Jacksonville. The Jaguars, if they win, really, really help their playoff hopes. The Jets, who have been playing spoiler a little bit this season in the second half, I don't think this is the week, though.
Yeah, I see the Jags winning.
Jacksonville takes care of business. Um, I'm sorry for anyone who watches this game. The Commanders are headed to New York. The Commanders play the Giants. Um, I don't know. I mean, neither team is really trying at this point, to be honest. They're both kind of in limbo. They're not high enough for a top. They don't need a quarterback, so they both just need talent around their quarterback. Ultimately, I guess I'll take the Giants since they're at home. That's really the only merit on my pick.
Yeah, I'll go Giants.
Browns played the Bears. The Bears are actually I'm not picking this, but this is an upset alert game. Like, watch out. If the Browns win this game, I wouldn't be crazy shocked just because the Bears are coming off a loss, and then this is a really good defense. But I'm going to take the Bears, who will effectively solidify their playoff spot.
Yeah, I have the Bears as well in this one.
Um, Panthers play the Saints, and if the Panthers win and the Bucks lose, the Panthers will take the division lead officially. If the Panthers win and the Bucks win, the Panthers stay tied. So I think they're going to stay tied because I think they're going to be fighting for the division lead next week after it. So give me the Panthers to beat the Saints on the road.
Yeah, I got the Panthers winning as well.
The Detroit Lions play the LA Rams. So this is once again the narrative of Goff and Stafford versus their old teams. It's going to never end. I hope you know. They'll always play each other.
They play once a year apparently. So
yeah. So I don't know.
Seattle could really use this one. This is massive. Get this. If actually, I might have said this earlier in the
I
show.
think you did say it. No. Go ahead. Repeat it. Repeat it. I would like you to remind me.
Let me see. Let me tell you how big this game is, folks. If the Lions beat the Rams and then the Seahawks beat the Rams next Thursday, Seahawks win the division automatically. They win it 2 weeks early. So it kind of feels like the Rams are running away with the 1 seed, but they could literally lose the division after 2 games. So this is a massive game right here. But I do see the Rams winning this one.
Here's the situation for Detroit, right? Detroit is basically playing 50-50 ball right now. And they're playing on a week where they just won, and Jahmyr Gibbs just had his fantastic historic game, which is exactly why they're going to lose by like a field goal this week. So give me the Rams. But I don't think it's going to be a bad loss for the Lions. I think the Lions are going to finally kind of be right with a competitive team this week. They always play close. I don't see why they wouldn't this time. So give me the Rams, but close game. The Colts travel to Seattle to play the Seahawks. Philip Rivers' return game is not. This is not the defense he wants to be playing. The Colts, they're hurt, they're banged up, like every team, but them a lot more than others. And this just feels like a bad matchup. Honestly, I just don't. Like if this was Daniel Jones, and like this was like October, I would take the Colts. But with the current situation, give me the Seahawks.
Look, I know I'm a Seahawks fan, but I see Philip Rivers
Oh my goodness!
rolling into the Seattle field at 44 years old
Wait,
with
no,
all 9 of his
no.
kids
Okay,
watching
no. You're having
and
another thing.
losing.
Yeah. Okay, as I say, this is
Unfortunately,
big.
I'm
You're
sorry.
pulling my
The
leg.
Seahawks winning this one.
It's like you're pulling my leg here. Look, I'm a Giants fan. I wish we kept Philip Rivers. I really
Yeah,
wish that's what we did. Um, but I digress. The Packers play the Broncos. This is actually a big game when it comes to both spots, when it comes for the 1 seed. The team that wins this game will probably have a really good shot at that. The one that loses it will be on the back burner. Which team do you think has a better chance of being there 1?
I might be the biggest Broncos doubter in all of the world right now. I have yet to see them do something this year that has impressed me, other than beating the Chiefs, which is becoming a less and less impressive win over time. Because guess what? Everybody is beating them. You're not special, Denver. I'm so sick of hearing. Look, Denver, you can prove me wrong if you can go in and beat a contender this year. Something that's let's take a look at the
Hold on,
contenders you
wait.
have beat
Hold
this
on.
year.
I just want to say something though. There is one
Mhm.
interesting fact. You said this last year. I remember me and you talked about this. We said this last year. You said this last year too. You're like the Broncos haven't beaten anybody. But who was the one contender they did beat? The
This
Green
year.
Bay Packers last year.
Oh yeah. That is
So,
interesting. That
and
is
this
interesting.
time they're playing in Mile High, which will lead me to take the Denver Broncos to beat the Green Bay
Oh.
Packers.
Look, I would love to see Denver come in and win this game because I want to stop doubting them. Like I want to believe. I don't want to be a Denver hater. You guys think I want to be a Denver hater? I
Yes.
don't. Like
Yes, I think that's Super Bowl. I think you like to brag about it. So
no. Look, I want Denver to be good because I don't like looking at a team as a fraud. I hate the term fraud, but Denver fits the parameters of a fraud for me. But I just don't believe in them. So I see Green Bay winning this game.
all right, you know what? All
Look, the
right,
Commanders. Okay, you want me to put into perspective why I don't believe the Denver Broncos?
no,
I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant.
stand.
Let me go on a rant.
No, I understand. But go ahead.
How many teams have been down 19 to the New York Giants in the fourth quarter this year? The Denver Broncos. How many teams have needed a safety, a 13 to 11 football game against the New York Jets to win? How many? One. How many teams have needed a batted ball on a two-point conversion to beat the Washington Commanders? The Denver Broncos. The Minnesota Vikings just put up 31 on them and held them to 0. And at this Denver defense that's oh so scary, just got dinked and doinked on by Marcus Mariota. Like
Okay.
I'm sorry, Denver is not doing it for me. I'm sorry. And there's other games that I'm forgetting that I haven't even mentioned. I remember there was
I mean,
the Raiders.
we could go back.
How many teams have needed a blocked punt to beat the Las Vegas Raiders?
And you could also, I mean, to be fair to them, not that this really
It's
makes
wrong.
up for any of what they said, but they should also have an extra win because the Colts game, Wade started the season with that maiden flag
Yeah,
that they got that kick redone for. So they should have an
yeah,
extra win, whatever. So take
yeah,
one of those fluky ones away that you
yeah.
want.
Give them an extra win, take away like 5 others. There you go.
Either way, they're a playoff team. This is playing another playoff team.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. Um, Oh, I thought that was Sunday Night Football for a second. I got really scared. No, it's the afternoon game. Titans are traveling to San Francisco to play the 49ers. You see why I was terrified for a second.
Yeah.
No, give me the 49ers here. There's
49ers.
no reason.
49ers are winning.
No reason for them to lose this game. Um, on Sunday Night Football, it is 9 versus 4. It is JJ McCarthy headed to Dallas to play Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. The Cowboys, this is actually a really big game for them because if they win this game, they really are going to put themselves in putting the pressure on the Eagles because the Eagles actually don't have an easy schedule after this week. To be honest with you, I'm like kind of going off memory, but I'm pretty sure they have a harder schedule. So
Yeah. Raiders are really going to give them a run for their money this week. They're in a
yeah.
really tough spot this
Hey, listen,
upcoming
man,
week.
that Raiders team did beat the Patriots. They
Yeah.
did do this.
Yeah.
So
And the Denver Broncos are one of the greatest teams of all time with one of the greatest defenses of all time and a generational quarterback in Bo Nix, and the Raiders only lost by 3. So the Raiders must be this super special team. I get so worked up when I start talking about
ooh,
Denver.
the
I
Broncos just
can't
get
do
his
it.
fire going. No pun
I'm
intended.
sorry. I just
Anyway, but yeah, to the game of Sunday Night Football, give me the Cowboys. I think they need to win this game to be in serious contention for anything.
yeah, give me Dallas on this one. I think they're much better.
I think that also mathematically takes out the Vikings from any scenarios, so that'll end their
Yeah.
season. I'm surprised that this is a primetime game. The Dolphins are traveling to Pittsburgh to play against the Steelers. I am stunned. This is prime time. Uh, okay. Now I will say, Tua did surprise me this week. He played really well in cold weather, which is not a normal thing for him. I know that sounds like such a simple thing. It's really not when it comes to him. So he kind of impressed me. That actually makes me think about my prediction a little bit more here. But the Steelers are inevitable to go 9-8, which means that if I think they're going to lose later this season, they have to win this game. So they're going to win this game. Give me the Steelers to beat the Dolphins.
The Miami Dolphins currently have the same record or better than Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson.
What?
Mike
7?
drop. Yeah, they're 6-7. They have the same
Oh,
record as Lamar and Mahomes
you
and a better
talking about
record than
firing
Joe
Mike
Burrow.
McDaniel? This team has really come alive in the
Yeah, I
second
mean, he heard
half.
about getting fired, and he's like, "Oh, I need to start winning games."
And I
I
need
think
to
they're
stop smiling on the sideline.
Yeah, I think they're 4-1 in their last five.
That's
But
great.
unfortunately, I do think the Steelers are going to kind of stop this train here. Steelers, um, kind of like they need to win because their last few games are a little more tough.
I will say though, it is interesting you bring that up because if the Dolphins do win, they put themselves in position to maybe make a playoff push. A very, very hard. It would take a lot, but they put themselves in position. So it is an
Yeah,
important game for both sides. It's not the Dolphins are not going to roll over for the Steelers. Um, but yes, I agree. Take Pittsburgh in this game. You have any closing thoughts on this week? Any before we kind of switch over to the younger generation?
that's all I got. Let's see what the youngins got.
Well, actually, I do have a hot take for this week. I
Okay.
actually I want to yeah, so I want betters, right? I'm not a better. I don't like sports betting. I like making my predictions and that's it. But I know some sports betters. So if you want to make any bet, bet the over when it comes to points between the Packers and Broncos. I just have a gut feeling. I know that sounds like such a random game. They're two good defenses, right? I have a gut feeling. Something about that game to me screams they're both scoring over 24. I don't know why. I really don't. But
Bo Nix against that defense is going to score like 5 points.
I think you're just also being a little bit
Two
of a
coming
hater.
from the defense, mind
I
you.
just need to
The
also get
safety.
this guy fired up one more time. No, but I do think that'll be a high scoring game. Not like crazy, but like I think they'll both reach over 24. So take the over on whatever you got there. That's what I wanted to say. But let's switch over. Let's go to college. We got championship games that happened, and look, can we just say a prayer? We usually pray for good things, right? Georgia Tech being good. What was the other thing we prayed for? I can't remember. We prayed last week.
I don't know.
We prayed for something, right? Look,
It was
usually
I think it was
was it?
racing.
Oh, was
I
it? Was it
think it's
racing? Was it motorsports? We prayed on the motorsports side for people who
yeah.
don't watch. We prayed for that. Um, we're gonna do a prayer this week, but it's not gonna be our normal like good vibes one. It's gonna be like more of a rest in peace prayer. Because we're saying goodbye to the ACC, as it is basically dead. So let's take a moment and say goodbye to the
All right, all
ACC.
right, all right.
The ACC is done as we know it. As Duke won their championship game, I look. I'm not a person who really even cares for ACC football. Not something that like.
Wait, ACC football. I thought we were talking about basketball. What do you mean Duke won?
Oh yeah, you didn't hear? Oh no, this wasn't a basketball game. This was a football game.
Yo, what?
No,
Duke won a
I thought they were playing on the court too. And then I looked at the score and I was like, that's not a basketball score. I was like, wait, hold on a minute. And then they were scoring 6 points. I was like, football? And that was football. And I was like, wow. So yeah, Duke Duke won a football ACC championship. This is a real thing, guys. This is not fictional. So yeah, let's say goodbye to the ACC as we know it, because that is not a real conference. Um, calling it a power school conference is disrespectful to the SEC, Big Ten, and the Big 12. That's disrespectful.
bro.
Anyway, let's kind of look here. There obviously wasn't too many games because it's conference championship weekend. But let's look at what we did get. So, uh, James Madison, they won their game, which they needed to do to effectively get a playoff spot. Which we'll get to the playoff picture in a moment. We will talk about that to end the show. Um, Tulane beat North Texas. I should mention James Madison won their game 31-14. Tulane 34-21. They both had variations of 4-1. It's kind of I don't know why.
Hmm,
That just
interesting.
stood out to me. Tulane took their W. We both took North Texas, I think, which is I guess we were wrong. Oh well.
I took Tulane
Did you
actually in
take
that one.
did you take Tulane? I actually don't
I
remember.
did. I
Okay,
did take
I
Tulane.
definitely took North Texas. So all right. Uh, BYU got smacked by Texas Tech in the Big 12. I know we both took Texas Tech, but I didn't think it'd be that big of a margin.
No, no, that was
So
not expected.
it was
Texas
enough.
Tech looked good.
It was enough to bump them out of the playoffs to the committee. So
Yeah.
uh, Texas Tech takes their conference championship. We just dogged on the ACC for about 2 minutes. The Duke beat Virginia 27-20 in overtime. By the way, um, there was two big championship games that happened this weekend. One of them was a bit of a blowout, though. Georgia just smacked Alabama 28-7. That game was not close at all. So,
No.
yeah, Georgia wins the SEC championship. That is a big win for them, actually. They desperately needed to beat Alabama. So good for Kirby Smart. And then the biggest game by far of the weekend, we said it would be the biggest game, was Indiana taking on Ohio State. And I remember I clowned this guy. I texted him immediately after I saw it, and I texted him over the weekend. Look, if there's any one thing I'm going to die on the hill of, and I said Indiana was going to beat Ohio State, you looked at me like I was crazy, and it happened. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go win the national championship. We'll get to that in probably next week when we actually look at the playoff picture. But man, Indiana took care of what they needed to, and Ohio State making a missed field goal. That's all they needed. The Hoosiers
Yeah.
win the Big Ten,
Well,
and
Big Ten championship. Look, I didn't know if Penn State had it in them to go in and beat
oh
Ohio State.
my, this bit,
Sorry. Oh.
he can't even keep it together. Like this bit
Sorry,
is
I'm getting word here. It was actually Indiana in the
yes,
Big Ten
yes, the
championship. Sorry
Hoosiers,
about that. I
not the
kept thinking it
Nittany
was Penn State.
Lions.
So big win from Indiana. I didn't think they could do it. I did not think that they had it in them, but they did. Huge credit to the coach. He was signed all that, that big contract, getting all that money for a reason. He's coming and has changed the culture. So big credit to Indiana. They're going to be a huge threat. And they're I don't think they're a better team than Ohio State, but they played a better game and they deserve to win the Big Ten championship.
They deserved that win that night. So the picture was set. The playoffs are made. We know the 12 teams. I'm going to read you the matchups and then the buys as well. And we will discuss. We're not going to predict this week for anyone who's expecting that, but we will discuss the games, or not more of the games, but like who's been left out, who's not going to the playoffs. Um, Starting off the four buys, the three conference winners, and then the highest seeded, which was Ohio State. So Indiana with a 1, Ohio State's the 2, the 3 being Georgia, and the 4 being Texas Tech. The 5 who is playing the 12, so the 5, which is Oregon, and then the 12 of James Madison. They are the group of 5. Um, wow, I can't believe this was a team, by the way, that went undefeated a couple of years ago. Fought, I think they actually really were fighting the NCAA, trying to get themselves into a bowl game. Weren't budging, but they get to do it now. So good for Georgia. I'm happy for James Madison. I will say I am happy for that school. So they'll play Oregon, although we'll see how that game goes. The 6 is Ole Miss. They are playing the 11 of Tulane. Again, similar situation to the game we just talked about. Good for Tulane. They win their conference, which puts them in. The 7, which is Texas A&M, is playing the 10. I just hit a blank. Miami. I apologize. I'm not looking at my phone. Miami is the 10. And then we have the 8 and 9, which is going to be a rematch of Oklahoma versus Alabama in Oklahoma. So, we know the 12 teams. Is there anybody, I know there's one team we got to talk about, but besides the obvious one, which I want to end with, is there any teams to you that were like, kind of like, why were they left out?
So I felt that it was something that I've always been a big proponent of, and that a lot of people are big fans of this mindset. Others are not. The mindset of if you lose a conference championship game, you should not be penalized for that because some teams don't play conference championships. Notre Dame cannot play a conference championship. Some teams don't get there because they're not good enough, and yet they end up being benefited from the rankings because they don't end up making those games. And so a team like BYU goes in, yes, they get blown out, but then they get knocked out because of that. Do I think that you should be penalized for losing a game like that? I don't think you should be penalized for losing one. But I think the fact that they got blown out like they did is the reason the committee was like, okay, these guys are not legit. We have to knock them out. If you can't be within 3 scores of a team like Texas Tech, not saying they're bad, but they're a playoff team, you have to play close with other playoff teams to be a playoff team. And they couldn't do that. They didn't do it the first time they played Texas Tech. They didn't do it the last time they played Texas Tech. So I do understand it from the committee. It's a little frustrating if you're BYU. Like, next time you might as well just decline the conference game. Say, hey,
We're
LeBron, Ben Simmons is
we're
here.
good, bro.
We're
We're
good.
good.
But
Yeah.
they didn't do it. They obviously don't want to do it, and they get penalized and miss it. Another team that a lot of people are debating about is Notre Dame. But look, Notre Dame is just our college version of the Denver Broncos. We don't believe in them, and they miss it. I think it's the right call. They did lose to Miami in a head-to-head matchup earlier this year, and that's the kind of the first team that got in, the last team that got into the playoffs. Obviously, they're higher than JMU and Tulane, but those two got into
Conference
conference.
wins. So
So Miami's the last team that Notre Dame has to get in over to make it, and Miami beat them head to head. So I like what the committee did with that. I think they got it right.
So I want to ask you well, there's a team I want to talk about real quick, actually, before I get to my question. So another team that we did not see on that graphic was the Oklahoma State. No, I'm kidding. No, but seriously, another team we didn't see on that graphic, which I did want to talk about, is Texas. Um, I know a lot of Texas fans were not very happy about not seeing them as the 10. Um, I Part of me understands, but then a part of me is like, you were also a 3-loss team that lost to Florida, the Gators.
Yeah, they were
So,
not making it in like any world.
so
Um,
I understand because let's be real, right? If Texas was in over Miami, they definitely are a bigger threat. To be honest, let's be real, right? I think that Texas is a bigger threat than Miami to go win a national championship.
debatably, debatably.
You can talk, but it's a debate. My point being, you could at least put them in, and it wouldn't be like a big difference, right? So I understand, which is why I think it's so puzzling to me. Because it was the last season. It was one of the more recent seasons. They took the no, it was 2 seasons ago. I remember this. They took the top 4. This was the last year of the top 4, and it was performance. They took performance over the equality or the quality of their wins and how many wins, right? Because I think of the year, it was the year FSU got left out with Jordan Travis, right? Which I
That's the
know,
worst thing they've ever done, by the way.
which I
That is
know,
the worst thing they've ever done.
which I know, in hindsight worked out because A, Jordan Travis got hurt, and B, they got demolished in their game. But um,
They weren't playing anybody in the bowl game. Of course, they were going to get demolished.
but I mean, yeah. So what I'm saying is here, I like the committee is kind of inconsistent in that regard, which is why I think people have a problem with it. I personally would not have had a problem at all. I don't even right now, but like I wouldn't even see the point if beforehand they valued those things. If FSU had gotten in 2 years ago, there would be literally no argument. But because of that, the committee has now backtracked on their own accord, and they've put a team with a better record in. So you can make the argument Texas versus Texas A&M would be a better game. I agree. I think that would be a better game, but that is not what the committee thought. So they put Miami in. They were better in the regular season when it mattered. So they get the benefits of that. The question I actually did have for you though was Alabama is a technically 3-loss team, right? They lost to FSU. They lost to who was their other loss? They lost to
They've lost to
Oklahoma,
Oklahoma. They've
and then
lost
they lost
to
to Georgia technically.
not well in the
The
conference championship.
conference. So that's what I was going with that, right? So you talk about conference championships, they shouldn't affect as long as it isn't like a crazy blowout, right? Which this is my argument here. So BYU got mud stomped by Texas Tech, right? Georgia just put the belt to Alabama. We don't do BTA, but if there was BTA in college, that would have been the game. Why is it different for Alabama, you think?
So I think it's different because Alabama was higher than BYU coming in, and Alabama is also playing a higher ranked opponent. Whereas, so basically, the I can basically do a visual representation.
It's like the
Here's the Georgia Alabama game. Here's the Texas Tech BYU game. So BYU, a lower ranked team, lost to a weaker opponent, whereas Alabama, a higher ranked team, also lost to a higher ranked opponent. So I think and also just the pedigree of the teams, Alabama being a much more respected team amongst the committee rather than BYU. I think all of that led to Alabama staying in, which I think is the right decision. I think Alabama losing to Georgia in a conference championship should not knock them from 8 to completely out of it. So I think they got it right in that regards. And even with the BYU thing, I would have been okay with them having BYU at 10 over Miami. I don't think that's a preposterous thing. And so I think it could go both ways with BYU, and then with Alabama, I think they absolutely should have been in. I think they got it right with that.
So the last thing I wanted to ask you, I guess, to kind of close out the show entirely here is with Notre Dame, right? The big argument is that although they lost head to head to Miami, it was week one, right? Alabama, they had two regular season losses, and one of theirs was week one to FSU. Huge difference in record right there, right? Now the FSU loss at first seemed like a good loss because, oh wow, FSU started the season really strong, and then they didn't finish it. So I ask you now, looking at this, do you think Notre Dame has the reason to be upset, or do you think that they kind of caused their own issue?
I think they have like some reason to be upset, but honestly, play competitive teams,
Be
and
in a
you
conference.
be in a conference, play actual football games. I mean, if you play football games against real good opponents, guess what? You're probably getting in over Miami. But the problem is your schedule's so much easier that how is the committee supposed to not take your wins with a grain of salt? Which honestly, Notre Dame is usually given the benefit of the doubt when we look at the rankings. I mean, me and you have been talking about it all year. They go into the
I was
season
shocked.
higher than they should be
I
every time.
was certain they were going to be the 10. I was like, oh, they're going to put him in over Miami, and we're going to have like a big thing about it. But no,
Yeah.
they did the right
Committee,
thing.
they kind of stood on business. I'm happy about them with that.
I would say I think the college football committee really got it right this year. I think this is. I mean, I think the fact that we have Tulane and JMU in it is a little interesting, but
They're conference winners. I
they are
mean, they've
conference
under the
winners.
rules, they've earned it.
But I'm saying like
There's nothing the
under
committee
the
can do
rules the
about that.
committee has set, they or the college or the NCAA has set,
Yeah,
they won. They did fair and
yeah.
square.
Like
So
if you have a complaint about Tulane and JMU getting in, you're arguing more with the rule makers than the committee itself.
the committee did their
The
job
committee can't
correctly.
control that.
Yeah. So that they ranked, and those were, to be fair to them, those were the two best teams that weren't the top three teams that won conferences. I mean, unless you were going to sit here and tell me that you think the ACC should be represented by Duke. I mean, I'm not making that argument. So I don't know. I mean, that's pretty much all I got though. I think Notre Dame was fairly ranked. I think they got their chance. I mean, look, they had if they had even if they played better against some of those worst teams, I feel like we wouldn't have this problem. But they didn't. So that's on them. Miami, they skate in. They definitely didn't. I mean, I don't think they deserve to be in either. But of the two in discussion, I think they were more deserving. They won the head to head, so committee got that right. And yeah, that's all I got. Unless you got something else.
That's all I got.
All right. Oh, I'm sorry. I almost entirely forgot because we were blasting through that. There's one last thing I need to talk about with you. We do have one game this weekend. What game is that?
We do. We have the classic Army and Navy game coming up.
Always respect to our uh, veterans and servers or past veterans. So, well, I have to ask you because it is a game. Who are you taking to win?
Navy is ranked, right? Their Army is not ranked. Do I see an upset happening? Not really. I think Navy's going to take it. It's a home game for them as well. So give me Navy in this classic rivalry game.
No, I'm sorry. I'm, I'm gonna go Navy.
I wouldn't have any
Uh,
complaints.
no, I'm gonna go Navy. I'm in agreement. I'm sure it'll be a good game. They always play each other close. It's not, to my knowledge, they usually play each other pretty close. I don't think there's a reason for them to be a blowout. It'll be a fun game. It's always a nice game. Yeah, it's a good game. So, we are both in agreement there. We will see how the weekend turns out. Obviously, we'll talk more about the playoffs itself next week. We'll also, of course, talk about the NFL playoff race as it gets closer and closer and it becomes more and more clear, and we know what teams do and do not need to do. So, if Parker Merrey has nothing else, which I don't think he does, I am going to log us off of the night. So, thank you guys so much for joining us on Sideline to Speedway. I've been your host, Mekhi Winfrey, joined by Parker Merrey, as always. Next week, as I said, talk about those things and more on the show. And thank you guys so much for joining.
Thank you, guys.